A project that can speak to my technical skill set is my ParentTimeSwap. My name is Daima Tibre, and I'll go ahead and explain this to you. My goal was to create a space for parents to build an instant network of local parent support towards goals. So, for instance, schools, interviewing work, conferences, mental health breaks, playdates, by viewing another parent's time availability or simply connecting over a network. In building this application, I used Firebase Authentication and Authorization API and React Context API on the client side and Push Your Chat Kit API on the server side. The main features of the application were creating a profile and logging in, entering profile data, querying the database by zip code, and sending group and private messages. With the login and create profile feature, I wanted to demonstrate my ability to authenticate and authorize with Firebase, as well as dynamically include pieces of data from the Postgres SQL database into the Node Express server over the React client components using CRUD. With the search feature competencies, I wanted the user basically be able to utilize the zip codes and find anyone in that area, just so that I can demonstrate the ability to query again from the database on the server. When I was working to separate the components from each other so that they would each be individual to themselves, it was pretty exciting learning about parent and child's, because that really helped me to understand how to pass parameters and how I could get these different parts to connect any way that I wanted or needed them to. Understanding this relation was really helpful, especially when I got stuck and ran into some trouble with the chat component. When I was setting up the private rooms in the chat feature, it was pretty difficult. The docs were explaining to me the design and the function that I needed to create a room, but it wasn't generating a room for me, and so I really had a difficult time connecting the logic and how I wanted the room to generate. And so I had to break down the logic and really understand the concepts to help me focus. So I went really kind of basic, and I said like one, if the user logs in and clicks a button, two, the button will generate a room between the logged in user and the clicked user, and then three, the room populates and a room list for the different two users. So I really had to break down what I wanted to happen, and then from there, each kind of bullet point, I would work out the logic and where my parameters needed to go, and which component they need to be in and why, what state they would be in at what time. And so really slowing down when I got stuck was really helpful. When I was creating the room, I was unable to see which users were being passed in because I didn't put a property set on a component that it was nested, or that it was nesting inside of itself. And so I had to go back in and make sure that that property was set on that child component. I had to learn which features, I had all these ideas of what I wanted to include, and I really had to learn how to scale back and realistically apply the knowledge that I had in the given time frame. And so that was definitely an eye-opener for myself as a junior developer. Another knowledge gap that I filled was working with the Firebase API really taught me how to rely on additional resources outside of just the docs, because sometimes there were times where I didn't understand how the code fit together or why, based on what the docs were telling me. And so being able to research and leverage other resources out there really helps to pull things together. There's also something called the Firebase context, and understanding that really helped me to understand how the instances of Firebase were accessed and retrieved on the different components in the tree, or the component tree, rather, I guess, without having to write it over and over and over on each component. So that was a really exciting thing to understand. My favorite parts about the build were working with ChatKit. I was able to work with the API pretty smoothly. Beyond creating the room itself. I was able to secure authorization on specific pages, which was really exciting because security is awesome. I was able to figure out how to apply my problem solving skills, because I was constantly having to kind of step back and think around the problems that I had. And watching page authentication, having someone set up credentials and register through Firebase was really impressive, being able to do that myself.